Welcome back to KGSM-TV. I'm Jaden Miller.
And I'm Reese Payne. In this show, we'll talk to students about how they are handling the last week of classes, and Harry and Kenan will bring Griffin sports updates to you. We'll also have more in-depth look at how people are feeling about the recent legalization of recreational marijuana.
This week, our own Zoe Jane interviewed one of Missouri Western's faculty members to discuss the legislation change on recreational marijuana use in Missouri. Here is the story.
Hello, thank you for joining us. I'm here with Dr. Ziemer, and we're going to be discussing some of the new legislation that's in Missouri. Well, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
So I've heard from some other psych majors that there is a course here that teaches us about not only cannabis, but psychedelics and how it affects your behavior. I was wondering if, since you have information on this that you teach in the course, what your opinion might be of this new legislation and how it might affect us here at Missouri Western.
Yeah, thank you. I teach a couple courses that this relates to. A transpersonal psychology class where we talk about experiences beyond the normal everyday experiences. So psychedelic experiences are part of that. And then I have a second class that's just on psychedelic experience. And we spend a good portion talking about cannabis in that class, along with other psychedelic substances. Although cannabis isn't technically in the psychedelic category, it's sort of a part of that. So yeah, I think there's a lot of potential we know already from research on cannabis for physical health properties, but there are also some benefits to mental health that we're discovering with cannabis use, for alleviating anxiety and depression, for helping people sleep. So I think definitely the move towards making cannabis more available for people through both medical and now adult use recreational status, there's going to be a lot of benefits that we can see from that in the mental health sphere. So I think that that's a good thing. I also, when we talk about cannabis in the class, one of the things that comes up is we talk about the relative harm and addiction of all these different substances. And compared to things that are legal like nicotine and caffeine and alcohol especially, cannabis and a lot of the other drugs that are in the Schedule I federal designation are really not more harmful than a lot of the things that we already have access to. And in fact, many of them are less addictive and less problematic physically. So I think it really makes sense that states are starting to open up access to things like cannabis, and I think that's a really good move. The drug laws that we did have in place were largely, not based in science, and then the enforcement was not always equal among different groups of people too. So it primarily affects people of lower income, people of color. So it's really a human rights issue as well as a scientific and mental health issue.
Absolutely. I completely agree there. I know there's some people who see this as a little bit more controversial. Do you think that some of that turmoil and maybe that, I don't want to say lack of knowledge, but not knowing to up-to-date science about cannabis might overlap here at Missouri Western with the students about the new legislation?
Yeah. One of the issues is that there really isn't as much research as we'd like, and part of that is because it's been Schedule I for so long. It makes it really difficult for research groups to get access to cannabis to do the research. So there is some truth for the people saying, we don't know enough, there's not enough research, but at the same time, research has been blocked by legal issues. So in order to get more research, we need to open up the legalization, and that really needs to move to the federal level at some point too. So yeah, I think there's valid in saying we don't know enough, and to be concerned when we're introducing a new thing into the culture and society in this kind of way. But if we look at it in more of a long-term view, cannabis was legal for most of human existence, and it's really just this last 100 years or so that we've had prohibition on cannabis. We tried prohibition with alcohol, and we saw that that didn't stop alcohol use, and in fact it created a lot more violence and a lot more problematic behavior and a lot stronger alcohol, because people were trying to get more bang for their buck when they were using something illegal. And the same sorts of thing happens with other types of drugs like cannabis. There's a lot more violence associated with it when it's illegal, and you don't always know exactly what you're getting when you're on that illegal market. So by and large, and from a harm reduction perspective, legalization where we can regulate, where people can feel safe going to a place to get cannabis and to try it and to know exactly what they're getting, know their dose, be able to find a strain that works specifically for whatever they're trying to address. It's really just going to be a much healthier way to be using that plant. We know that prohibition didn't stop people from using it, right? So people have been using cannabis this whole time. And this is really just going to make it a lot safer for people who want to do that to be able to do that.
Perfect. Would you recommend students to take your class if they want to learn more about this?
Oh, I always recommend students take my class. But yeah, the transpersonal class goes into a lot of deeper spiritual issues. So we talk about meditation and mindfulness. We talk about connectedness to nature, birth and death, and ecstatic dance and movement practices, as well as psychedelics. So you get kind of the whole picture of how these holistic approaches to mental health can benefit us. And then if you're really interested in the psychedelics, in every spring semester, Psych 275 is the psychedelic science course. And we dive deep into cannabis and LSD and psilocybin, magic mushrooms, and ayahuasca and ketamine and all the different substances in that psychedelic category that are starting to show some great potential for mental health uses in the recent research. We talk about how they work on the brain, what sorts of effect they have on the body, what are some things that you should consider before you experiment with these types of things, as far as what things could go wrong and what are the risks. And we also talk about the legal and cultural issues surrounding these substances too. So it's really a psychedelics 101. You get a full picture of their history, how they work in the body, and what are the concerns with the legal status and using them therapeutically.
Well, I don't think I have anything else for you. Thank you so much for informing us and giving us a little bit more of a deeper dive on this.
Great, thank you. Yeah, the two classes, just to say again, Psych 270 is the transpersonal one, and then Psych 275 is psychedelic science.
Well, that's all I have. Thank you so much. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Zoe. For anyone interested in taking these courses, be sure to book an advising appointment to learn how to register. The past few weeks have been full of top news headlines covering an array of topics, from a rail strike bill to new Democratic leadership. This eventful week began on Tuesday after the Senate passed a landmark bill to protect same-sex marriage. The purpose of the legislation is to protect same-sex marriage if the Supreme Court overturns the decision to legalize it. And on Wednesday, a deal to avert a possible rail strike is now heading to the Senate after the House voted to pass the agreement. A provision to the agreement calls for more paid sick days for laborers. Speaking of the House, the Democrats in the House now have new leadership. New York Representative Hakeem Jeffries is the first African American to lead a political party in Congress. Representative Catherine Clark is the Democratic House Minority Whip, and Pete Aguilar is the new House Democratic Caucus Chair. To find more information about the change in Democratic leadership, visit cnn.com/politics.
Universal Human Rights Month is the month meant to reflect on the way that we treat others and see what we can do to fight for equality. One of the biggest issues that this national month is bringing light to is systematic racism. As we continue through December, be sure to take time to reflect on what this month is really meant to do. We'll be right back after the break.
Missouri Western is home to the Walter Cronkite Memorial. The memorial is home to 8 of his Emmys, as well as exhibits showcasing caricatures, space exploration, his wife Betsy Maxwell Cronkite, timelines of his career, and a replica of his CBS newsrooms that visitors can interact with. We invite all of you to explore the Cronkite Memorial. Self-guided tours are available Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
The Missouri Department of Conservation is located on Missouri Western's campus at 701 James McCarthy Drive. All you have to do is open the door and walk in. Once in, you will see all the sorts of animals, live animals, and rawr. Anyways, here's another snake. And a fish, so cute. Outside, you can see ponds, trees, and walking trails. There are even activities for kids. Stop by sometime between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Go Griffs!
Welcome back. After returning from fall break, students here at Missouri Western are beginning to prep for finals week. It's that time of year again to grab your flashcards, study guides, and laptops. This week, MWSU students returned to campus after having a few days off for fall break, and with this return comes preparation for finals. With only 2 more weeks left in the semester, many students are already feeling the pressure.
Finals week is definitely one of the most stressful times of the whole entire school year, but I'm ready to get it over with and I'm ready to get out.
No matter how many times you suffer through a finals week, those few days are always tough. Some say that this week is a time to study and cram, but you should also be taking care of yourself as well.
Finish your stuff and take care of business and finish your finals or prep for finals. I also say take some time for yourself to kind of decompress and recharge.
A few other tips and tricks to surviving finals are to eat a healthy and balanced breakfast the day of a big exam, alternate studying spots to provide stimulation, and utilize the resources available to you, such as the Center for Academic Support.
The CAS is a very good resource to have on campus. It's free to all students. There's tutoring and stuff like that, so I definitely use that and recommend other students to use that as well.
Although finals can be a stressful time for all, one message remains.
The biggest piece of advice that I could give is to really just take a deep breath and think of why you're doing all of it. Think of, what's the end goal once you get that degree.
You're almost there. It's almost done. If you're graduating, congratulations, we're almost done. And if you're coming back, it's going to be here before you know it. So just keep your head above the water and get it over with.
Reporting for KGSM-TV, I'm Jaden Miller. If you're struggling academically and would like help, you can sign up for a tutoring session on GoldLink under the Center for Academic Support tab.
As Jaden said, we only have a few short weeks left of the semester, and many students have assignments and exams coming up. In preparation for finals, many students tend to study by cramming information for days and hours before the test. This strategy could lead to burnout. The definition of burnout is a term that describes emotional, physical, and/or social exhaustion due to stress. Some symptoms of burnout are increased lethargy, a tendency to zone out, more than usual difficult to focusing on a task, as well as increased irritability or negativity. It is easiest to slip into burnout when you are not taking care of yourself as well as your studies. Some ways to avoid burnout are to take frequent breaks in between study sessions, designating specific times to relax, eating regular meals, and getting enough sleep. All of this sounds pretty self-explanatory, except it must be intentional. Many people confuse distraction with relaxation. If you are spending time occupying mental space on your phone or thinking about all of the things that you need to do, then you aren't relaxing. This is a reminder to take care of yourself and your academics approaching finals week.
Here at Missouri Western, we tend to have a lot of new students come to campus for their very first year of college. Being away from home and being on your own can be a very scary experience. A few students on campus shared with us how one thing that made them feel more comfortable was decorating their dorms. Amina Zalzala has the story.
I feel good. It's like my own personal little space, little area to come back to. It's relaxing, inviting. I like it. I feel like my dorm room kind of represents my personality. I like pink. I'm a very clean person. I'm a little bougie, so you got the little, wall hangings on the wall, the purses, little bags that you get from the store. Just like a cute, girly, classy type of vibe.
Well, since I got a few of these totes in here, I was able to fill up like majority of the stuff from my crib and bring it to here. Like I brought the flag home, brought it all the way up here from St. Louis to Missouri Western. Then I also, they had some lights in here, of course, but I left those at home. But it's also mostly a feel for it. I kind of want to switch stuff from my room, but also bring some of the stuff from my home, but add on to what I already got and trying to make it use of. I would say yes, and no at the same time, but it's mostly yes though. Yeah, mostly yes. I feel like comfort is big for a student, especially if you want to. This is the place you're staying there for like 4 or 5 months. I feel like you should be at your comfort zone regardless of where you at. Cause I know even though home always gonna be that comfort zone, but you gotta make what you can get out of it, you know.
Thank you, Amina.
Last semester here at Missouri Western, the MPHC organization hosted their very first non-Greek Stroll Off. The non-Greek Stroll Off is where students can come out and stroll like their very favorite fraternity in front of an entire crowd on campus. This semester, the NPHC had a pleasure of bringing the non-Greek Stroll Off back for a second time. Many students have been very excited about the second non-Greek Stroll Off event and have even been excited to perform in front of their friends and families again.
So we already had last year each done one ourselves, but within our own frats. So we all decided to collaborate and give the ladies a chance to do it on a bigger stage. Out of the non-Stroll Off, I'm expecting it to be a real hype experience and be very entertaining and enjoyable for everybody the entire time. So in terms of the amount of weeks, I'll say it took about 7 or 8 weeks that we took trying to come up with everything, and mainly it was just getting the moves down, getting everybody on the same page as well, and then getting the whole thing.
I could say for myself that it's been challenging. I mean, I can only speak for myself and myself and my team. Can't really speak for the other teams, but I just feel like it was personally challenging. People really don't see what's going on behind the scenes. It can be a little stressful sometimes, but it's all good though. I'm not even gonna do all that. It's all good. We're ready, and the last practice we had, it was good, so I'm very excited. And I just want to prove to them and to the other teams that we could be up there. We could probably win. Like, we got it. I just hope that for us. Probably working with a team. I know that sounds like really like corny, but like I really don't work with like big groups of people. I really don't like that. And like coming together, it's pretty cool. And then like the teams build like this bond. I feel like everybody should have did it. Like it's a very fun experience, and then you get to perform for all your peers, family, other D9 organizations. Like it's a good feeling.
For more information about the MPHC non-Greek Stroll Off, you can visit Max Engage or follow MPHC on Instagram at MoWest_MPHC.
Here at Missouri Western, we see a lot of students who run different organizations on campus every day. But one student in particular has shared that she's the only current member and president of her sorority chapter. Dasia Stalder, who is a senior set to graduate this December, has been running her sorority Alpha Kappa Alpha, incorporated all by herself this summer due to her sorority sisters graduating back in May.
So I'm actually the current president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Radiant Royalty Chapter here at Missouri Western. I feel like in some ways like it's a lot harder obviously, because like everything in terms of like marketing, doing events, community service, like I have to do it on my own, but in a way I kind of find it like kind of fun because everything that I do I kind of get to do it my own way, and everything's kind of like what I want to do, what I feel like is best for like the students at the school. So it's kind of like mixed, like there's some good things and then some that are a little difficult, but you know, just working through it. I've been a part of my chapter since fall of 21, about to be 1 year. So like the first thing is we have certain initiatives that we have to meet. For example, some of them are like empowering our families, enhancing our environment, advocating for social justice. We actually have 5 initiatives, and so that's nationally. From like headquarters, every school has to meet those initiatives and do events and community service around those. So first I'll choose like which initiative I want to meet, kind of like what event I want to do, and then from there, you know, we'll kind of discuss it, come up with the idea, you know, make the flyer, and then just put everything in, and then yeah, have the event. I would say yeah, like I think I've already done like quite a bit this semester. I wish I could have done more, but I kind of did have to balance like, you know, my work life, social, and schoolwork and stuff like that. So I feel like I've really done my best with like the time that I've had to spend doing events and stuff like that. I would say the most challenging part is just like the sisterly relations aspect. So, like usually I have my other sisters here and we can kind of do things together, fun stuff. And so kind of being, having no one, is just like a little difficult. But yeah, I have other schools that I'm close with, the AKAs there. I would say the most rewarding part is like doing things and not necessarily like caring about, like, to me it's like doing things and like seeing how people like it and like they really enjoy coming to it. And it's not even about like me wanting to be like recognized or get the recognition, but like after doing community service and things that are helping the students, like they're giving me that feedback and telling me how much they enjoy it. Like that's so rewarding to me that I'm able to, provide a place for students to come to events and for them to have a good time and enjoy themselves. So
Stalder has had some major responsibilities to uphold this semester with her organization and schoolwork before graduation. She has been doing a great job with balancing these tough responsibilities this semester, and we wish her luck as the year continues.
After the break, Harry and Kenan will give us the Griffin Athletics update.
Hello, welcome to the esports arena. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, so you're just letting everyone in? Yeah.
Looking for a place to hang out, game, or just relax? The Griffin Esports Arena is open to all students. Head on over today.
Welcome back into KGSM Sports. I'm Kenan Bialovats.
And I'm Harry Loomis, and our return from fall break perfectly coincides with Missouri Western basketball starting conference play. Preseason is over as Thursday night was both the men and women's first MIAA test at Pittsburgh State. And for the men, I don't think you can ask for a better start. Sophomore Tay Fields leading the way with 20 points, capped off with a ferocious dunk with 3 seconds left to cap off a gutsy 66-65 comeback win.
And it was business as usual for the women's side as well. An 80-74 overtime victory over the Gorillas now moves the Lady Griffins record to 6-2 of the year. Connie Clark set the tone for the game, finishing with a team-high 21 points and pulling in 11 rebounds, while also causing havoc on the defensive side of the ball with 4 steals. The Griffins will take on 5th-ranked Missouri Southern on December 3rd at Joplin. Missouri Southern is led by defending Women's MIAA Player of the Year, sophomore Lacey Stokes.
This is sure to be a fascinating season of men's basketball in the MIAA. There's a major changing of the guard taking place as last year's top 10 scorers are all departed. Trevor Hudgens of Northwest Missouri State is the big name that's gone now that he's on the Houston Rockets, but he's definitely not alone. How about Isaiah Wade of Central Oklahoma, Jared Vitsom of Fort Hays State? Both of them are gone, not to mention Washburn's Tyler Guyman, who hit a buzzer beater to win the 2021 MIAA championship. One could believe that this turnover will be seen in the standings, but the coaches and media, they disagree. Let's take a look at the polls. Northwest Missouri, Central Oklahoma, Fort Hays, Washburn, and Emporia State sweep the top 5 just as they finish the 2021-22 season. So who has the best shot to break them up? Well, it depends who you ask. Coaches tend to think Northeastern State, while media is in favor of the Griffins. This year, for sure, has the chance to be as unpredictable as ever.
Over on the women's side, there are elite teams all across the board looking to make a major impact this season. When you talk about making an impact, you have to talk about the 2022 Central Regional Champions, Missouri Western, defeating Fort Hays State last year 70-69 to claim the championship. The Griffins look to defend the throne with key pieces such as the deadly duo of Connie Clark and Brianna Budgets and skilled post players with Mary Foltz and Trinity Knapp. While being coached by Candy Whitaker, the sky is the limit. Last year's MIAA champions, Fort Hays State, will be looking for revenge this year as well. Head coach for the Tigers, Tony Hobson, will be entering his 15th season, and he has done it all. Over 14 seasons, he's coached his team to an outstanding 312-109 record and becoming the most winningest coach in Fort Hays State University. Hobson and his squad looks to return to greatness this upcoming year. But looking at the polls, the undecisive #1 team in the MIAA is Missouri Southern State University. If making an impact was a person, then it would be Lacey Stokes. The now sophomore dominated the MIAA in her freshman campaign, averaging 26-6 to become the MIAA Player of the Year. Stokes looks to add on to her hardware by adding a championship and to continue her dominance. However, there's one thing there's a certainty is that the MIAA is the most competitive conference. With teams such as Nebraska's Kearney, Central Missouri, and Northwest Missouri State, nothing is set in stone. Teams will have to carve their own path to success in a year of amazing basketball.
We've got more sports coming up after the break.
Tonight on Mr. Mummy's Horathon, killer dolls strike in Blood Buddy. Then there's no whisper within the woods. And finally, these kids are on thin ice with this goalie in Wednesday, the 27th. You won't want to miss out, for that would be a grave mistake.
Starts tonight at midnight on Channel 17.
Jillian. Breathe.
Thanks.
Jillian, how often do you relive this night?
Constantly. He was my best friend and now I'm all alone.
I understand how it can feel when you lose someone so important like that. I want you to think hard on this one for me. Do you have a support system?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot this was today. I'll be out in just a second.
Are you open to trying something a little more experimental?
Welcome back here to KGSM-TV. This week we're debuting the Sports Roundtable discussion. With the MIAA basketball season starting off this week, we figured there'd be no better time to start. So, Kenan, we've talked a lot about some of the top teams this year. For Missouri Western specifically, who are some X factors you look at for both teams?
Well, when you think of X factors, you always got to think of Reese Glover. Reese Glover, who's arguably the best three-point shooter in the MIAA. When he's on fire. Nobody can stop him. But you also have Jerron Thames. Hasn't been really healthy so far this season. But when he's healthy, he's super athletic, can absolutely space the floor, a great player. But when you think about Missouri Western, you think about one person. You think about Will Eames. He's been here since head coach Will Martin's been an assistant. That connection right there, he's a natural-born leader, can play inside, play outside, handle the ball, and have amazing defense. Those are my top three.
You know, I would have to agree with you. I think in particular, Reese Glover, we missed him a lot last year, and we went from around average three-point shooting team to absolutely one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the MIAA. I agree with what you said. I think Reese Glover is the best three-point shooter in the MIAA. And Jerron Thames, we noticed him missing a couple games early in the year. He is, in my opinion, the perfect point forward for this team. He can bring the ball up. He can get to the rim with ease. He can finish around the rim. He can kind of do a little bit of everything. And he's a guy that you saw it against Northwest Missouri State last week. He can put up 20, 25, 27 points any game. It really just is any game with him. You can see a big performance. And on the women's side, I would like to mention Camille Evans. You know, when you think of the Western women's team, you think of Connie Clark, you think of Brianna Budgets, but Camille Evans has been doing it all ever since she's gotten to Canyon Whitaker's team. She's not going to give you the big scoring numbers, but she's going to get you some rebounds, she's going to get you assists, and she's going to take care of the ball and get it to those big-time scorers.
100% agree. I 100% agree with you. Brianna Budges absolutely has been on a tear since the MIAA tournament last year. She's been really stepping up her game, elevating her talents. Like you said, Camille Evans, Connie Clark. But we also got to talk about Mary Foltz. Does it all. A really skilled post, can play inside and out, just like Will Eames. But head coach Candy Whitaker has been praising Foltz of her skillful play. I really think that inside-out duo of Brianna Budgets, Camille Evans, Connie Clark, and Mary Foltz can really take this team a long way.
And we know most games you see the women playing right before the men. I'm wondering, looking at the schedule, what do you think is the most can't-miss day of basketball for Missouri Western students to come support the Griffins?
Oh, it's got to be Northwest. Like you said, Trevor Hudgens is gone. looking at this team, Northwest Missouri State is still a powerhouse, still, in my opinion, the #1 team in the MIAA. But if this was the year for the Griffins to defeat Northwest, this is the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Northwest game, it's near the end of the season in February. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere, incredible game, like always. I think if you're looking for a full day of basketball, you got to find when Missouri Western plays host to Fort Hays. Both Fort Hays teams are slated to finish the top 3 in the MIAA. The women won the conference championship last year, were a point away from winning the regional championship at home against Missouri Western. And on the men's side, another excellent, well-rounded team. They gave Northwest everything they could handle in the semifinals of the MIAA championship last year, was not able to get it done. But this is a team that can do it all. Caleb Hamagate is a sophomore, and he had a big freshman year. I think he's going to have a bigger role now that Jared Fitzham's gone. But I think that day of basketball, from top to bottom, is going to be absolutely exceptional, along with the Northwest Missouri game, like you said.
I agree with you, but top 3 teams on both sides finishing. Where do you see the men and the women?
Okay, so on the men's side, I think you have to pick Northwest, right? I think Northwest is #1 until they basically decide they aren't #1 anymore. I got Fort Hays second, and Washburn lost Tyler Guyman. Central Oklahoma lost Isaiah Wade. Those are 2 huge losses for them. I'm going to give the edge to Washburn. I think they have a very well-rounded team. I watched them at the MIAA tournament. They beat Central Oklahoma in the semifinals. I thought it was the most dominant performance maybe of any team in the entire tournament, and they've shown that it doesn't matter who they go against. They've gone toe-to-toe with Northwest Missouri multiple times. This is a very high-end talented team. And on the women's side of things, I think your top 2 are Missouri Southern and Fort Hays State. They tied last year. I wouldn't be surprised to see them pretty neck and neck again, but I would give the edge to Missouri Southern. And third, I think the Griffins can step up there. You know, I think they're slated to finish around 4th in both polls, but I think the way they've looked this year, they can get it done in multiple different ways. And Connie Clark and Brianna Budges have shown that they can go on a tear in any game. And we've seen both have 30-point games so far in the season. So I think those are my top 3.
100% agree with you on the women's side. The Griffins look really talented this year. They're entering, when they'll be facing Missouri Southern on December 3rd, they're going to be entering that game with a 5-game win streak. Missouri Southern, who sit 8-0, that's going to be a really great game to watch. But looking at the men's, you got to go with Northwest #1. That rich culture, that rich history, they're always going to be a powerhouse in the MIAA. Fort Hays, #2, like you said, they pushed Northwest all to their limits last year. #3, this may be a little bit of bias, but I really see Missouri Western. Like
I hate that.
I mean, this is such a well-rounded team. You have Matt Nunez, Julius Dixon, Tay Fields, Reed Kemp, Reese Glover, Will Eames, Duron Thames, Matt Nunez, J.C. Anthony. This team is really good. It's all about just putting the pieces together. They've had glimpses of potential shown last year. They started off this season really hot. I have Missouri Western finishing 3, and we might surprise them, even go up to #2.
You know what? I wouldn't hate that at all. I think that's a pretty good pick. And I think last night's win, that's at the definition of a character win, down a little bit, late in the game, come back, make a fierce rally. Tay Fields with that dunk like I was talking about earlier. Those are character wins. Those go a long way. That's more than just a win. I don't know if I see Missouri Western as a top 3, but I definitely see them. I don't think there's any reason why they can't be a top 5 team in that MIAA this year. They're slated around 6th, 7th in the preseason polls, but I think that they can be right up there with the teams like Emporia State and Central Oklahoma battling for that kind of second tier of MIAA teams.
I mean, there's only one thing that we know in the MIAA conference. It's not easy. It's not an easy road. Anything can happen, especially now with arguably the best player in the last 10 years in Division II history, Trevor Hudgens being gone. But like you said, you have Diego Bernard right there. Anything can happen.
Yeah, you never know with Northwest Missouri. All right, we're done with the basketball side. Real quickly, who's going to win the World Cup?
The Balkan in me wants to pick a Croatia or a Serbia squad, but if I'm looking at a pure talent squad, it has to be Brazil. That team is way too talented. France is up there, but any person off of Brazil's bench, not in that starting 11, can suit up for any nationality team and absolutely dominate. So I'm going with Brazil.
You've got Brazil. I'll say they run it back. France is going to be a 2022 champion. Looking forward to seeing it, and we'll wrap up the show after this.
As fun as college is, it can be a really stressful time.
It's easy to feel alone.
Even in full classrooms, sometimes it still feels like you have no one.
It's especially easy to feel isolated during these crazy times.
It's hard to recognize the signs when you don't know them.
Don't be afraid to reach out and get help.
There are always ways to get help on campus.
The counseling center is always ready to work with you.
There's also lots of ways to get help off campus.
There are several different hotlines you can reach out to.
Make sure to check in on your friends and family.
Keep an eye out for the signs.
There's no shame in recognizing that you're struggling.
There's no shame in asking for help.
There is no shame in taking care of yourself.
You and your mental health are the priority.
See the signs. Take action.
Take action.
Take action.
Take action.
Take action.
Take action.
I'd really encourage, if you need to talk to someone, reach out to us. That's what we're here for.
If you are wanting to join KGSM-TV next semester, there is still a chance to audition. In order to anchor on camera, you must enroll in the Griffin Media JOU 311 course. To sign up for anchor auditions, email our show director, Maddie Spath, at mspath@missouriwestern.edu. Auditions will be held on December 9th in the Hearns IMC studio, located across from the library. There is no preparation required, and a script will be provided for you to read on camera. Coming up on KGSM-TV, we'll bring you some information about the history of Christmas and how to best pack for the holidays.
And for sports, Kenan and I will recap basketball's upcoming week of MIAA play.
Be sure to follow us on all our social media accounts, and we hope to see you next week.